All right, so a word, my friends, on this night celebrating our learners and our teachers, a word of Torah. Our Torah portion this week is called Parashat Emor, and it is in the book of Leviticus. And the name of this portion, Emor, comes from a Hebrew verb. You are going to have to learn a little Hebrew tonight. Sorry, kids. Emor is a Hebrew verb, an imperative verb that means speak or tell. Comes from the first line of the portion. When God is giving Moses his lines, God tells Moses to go to the leaders of the Jewish community, Emor el hakohanim b'nei Yisrael, go and speak to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and share with them what I'm about to tell you. But the rabbis who studied that verse pointed out that there is something unusual about the rest of that sentence. Emor el hakohanim b'nei Aharon, go speak to the priests, ve'amarta alehem, and say to them. Speak to the priests and say to them. So there are two verbs in one sentence, speak and say. The rabbis asked, why the repetition? Why the redundancy? The Torah could have saved some space. The Torah scribes could have saved a little ink if they had just said, say the following to the priests. Why both verbs? Why both speak and say? As you might imagine, the rabbis answered their own question. They taught us that it only looks like the verse is being redundant, repeating itself unnecessarily. The reason that there are two verbs in one sentence, they teach, is that each one is directed to a different audience. When the Torah says, speak to the priests, that is an instruction to Moses to relay a set of information to the adult leaders of the community. But the second half of the verse, the amarta alehem, and say to them, that is an instruction directed to the priests, telling them to take that same wisdom and guidance from Moses and pass it along to the children. So most of this portion is filled with directions for the priests, operating instructions for the grown-ups who will run the community in ancient days. But the rabbis of the Talmud wanted to make sure that we learned an additional lesson from our study of this Torah portion. All of these instructions are vitally important for the successful and healthy functioning of Israelite society, but the priests' work didn't end with their responsibility to follow Moses' instructions and carry out their jobs. They had to take on an additional obligation of passing on what they had learned to the children and the students for whom they were responsible. The ultimate peak of a successful adult life isn't just figuring out how to do our jobs well. We have to supplement our own achievement by teaching what we know to other people, especially to the younger generations. This is part of our obligation as adults, and especially as Jews. The value of teaching becomes a pillar of Jewish thought and belief. Our tradition is very open in its disapproval of people who are fortunate enough to have received wisdom and education, but then fail to pass it along to others. What a great reminder from those rabbis across the centuries and across the miles, and what a great setup for this all-school family Shabbat when we're celebrating with our teachers and our students, with the families and the members of our community who reaffirm week after week and year after year how important Jewish learning really is. This is a place where Jewish adults can pass along the richness of what they know and what they love to our students and our children. Everybody in this room finds themselves somewhere along the long chain of Jewish tradition. Somebody, sometime, taught all of us something. It was a parent, maybe, or a teacher, a cantor or a rabbi, a professor or a camp counselor. Someone taught us something, a Hebrew word, a melody, a recipe, a story. We received something that had been sent our way along the chain of tradition, and we made it our own. And then, hopefully, all of us took up our responsibility to be teachers too. Those of us who serve this religious school, and also the rest of us who just do our best to look like mensches when we know the kids are watching. Because the kids are watching. The kids are always watching. This is something all of us know, whether we're teachers or parents or just grown-ups in the world. The kids always have their eyes on us, noticing what we say and what we do, what we pay attention to and what we ignore, who gets our approval and who gets our love, who gets our anger and who gets our disappointment. And as they watch, that's how they gain their own understanding about what's important and what is expected of them. So that's the joy and the tricky part about the doubled verbs in that verse from our Torah portion. We're called upon to live lives of Jewish meaning, and we're also reminded to bear in mind that the Torah we transmit with our presence in the world has to be seen and absorbed and carried forward by the generations that will follow us. The transmission of Torah isn't a solo endeavor. It takes a lot of shared work to pass along that inheritance. It takes a lot of different hands, a lot of different voices, and a lot of different hearts to show our students that Jewish learning doesn't only happen in the classroom. Jewish life is something that is lived. And all of us share together in the work of teaching and transmitting that beautiful and timeless stuff that makes us who we are. All right, one last point I want to share with all of you. If you look at your Jewish calendar, maybe when you get home, you'll see that tonight, May 1st, the 14th day of the Hebrew month of Iyar, has a little note written next to it. It says, Pesach Sheni, the second Passover. What is the second Passover? Pesach Sheni is a legal accommodation extended to anyone who, for one reason or another, didn't have a chance to take part in the rituals of Passover when they were normally scheduled a month ago, in the month of Nisan. So if you missed your chance last month, you get a do-over with Pesach Sheni, and you can do Passover in May instead of April. That's what Pesach Sheni is. Now, in the 18th century, the Baal Shem Tov, the famous spiritual master and the founder of modern Hasidic Judaism, offered this commentary about Pesach Sheni. What it teaches us, he says, is that nothing is ever lost completely. No opening to holiness will ever totally vanish. It is never too late to begin. So back to our portion, and back to the instruction that all of us have to listen to the words of Torah in order to pass them along to others. Not as if we're putting on some kind of carefully staged production, not to lecture others, to pressure them into lives of observance. Our charge is to speak our own Judaism, to speak it in our words and in our actions, in the way we spend our time and the way we spend our resources, to live it in a way that it can be seen by those who are watching, so that our kids and our students can see what it looks like when an adult takes this tradition seriously as a source of structure and meaning. As the Baal Shem Tov taught us about Pesach Sheni, nothing is ever lost forever. It's never too late to begin your role as a Jewish teacher. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to happen all at once. You just have to go about it honestly with whatever voice you have. Almost everyone in here is some kind of a Jewish teacher. Some of us get paid for it, and some of us don't. But when you make an effort to spend time with kids, when you make time to show another person why Jewish life matters to you, you are doing the work of a Jewish educator in ways that can penetrate deeper than words, and you're planting seeds that will take root, even sometimes after lying dormant for many years. But those seeds will grow. And through the sacred rhythm of time, they will become a part of that great and eternal tree of life that nourishes every generation of Jewish family and Jewish peoplehood. The fruits of that tree are incalculably valuable. We carry them inside our hearts, inside our gestures, our words, and our presence, and we entrust them lovingly to the hands of those who are watching us more carefully than we know. They are watching, and we should not let them down. May God bless the work of the hands of Jewish teachers and educators of all kinds. Let us heed their words. Let us follow in their steps. May this be God's will. Amen.